I'm Zach, and in this part of my web development for beginners series, I'm going to be going over inline text. Say for instance, I had a paragraph and I had some text that I wanted to bold. You can see here that I've just got a regular paragraph, so if I wanted to bold this text, I would need to use the bold element, which is just B. And then I would need to put this text inside of my bold element, and if I save this, you can see we've got some bolded text. If I wanted some italic text, I could use the I element, and I could put some italic text in here, and I save that, and I get some italic text. But say for instance, I added some styling here in a style tag, and we'll cover more on this later, don't freak out. And I targeted the bold element, and I said it's green. Well, now the bold element doesn't mean bold text, it means bolded green text, and our semantic HTML isn't working. So if I remove this and I created a strong tag and I had some strong text in here, if I changed this to green through CSS, through styling it, then it would make perfect sense because strong doesn't say it's bold, it just says it's strong, which could mean anything. So we should be using strong for bold and M, or emphasized, for italic text. So these are the two new semantic HTML equivalents for bold and italic. We also have subscript and superscript. So if I had H2O, oops. If I add H2O here for water, and I wanted to make the 2 go down like it does in the actual scientific thing, I would use a subscript. Oops. I would use a subscript element, and I would cut the 2, and I would put it inside here, and the 2 would move down below the rest of the text. What if I had 2 to the power of 4, and I wanted the 4 to go up? Well, I would use a superscript. Oops. What is it doing? There we go. So now we have 2, and then the 4 goes above the rest of the text. That's subscript and superscript. I can also have text that I mark out with a mark tag. Oops. Terrible at typing today. Oh my god. There we go. And you'll see by default it's yellow on the background, you know, like a yellow highlighter by default. You can always change this through CSS, and it's semantic. It doesn't say how it looks, so it's perfect. You could also have strike through text. But just like bold and italic, it's being deprecated. You should move to deleted text, so del, and it should be styled pretty much the same way, and it kind of tells you that the text is deleted, not that it says there's a strike through it. It's not telling you about the styling. You could also have inserted text after your deleted text, and there's an underline under it by default. You could also have an abbreviation element. So I could have hypertext markup language and have HTML in here. And so it shows HTML with like a little dotted underline under it, and when I hover it, it comes up with the title attribute, which is a global attribute. I could also have a site. So if I had some artwork, some image with an artwork in it, I could have a site element, and I could have by Zach Gens. So if it was my artwork, which I don't have much of, and I think it's slanted by default. And I think you could also have an attribute on that. I forget what attribute it is. You could also have a short line quotation. So I could have some random quotation that Zach can't think of. There we go. And by default, it gets quotes. So if I say, for instance, I didn't want to create a new paragraph for this because these are all inline elements, so they're all next to each other. If I wanted to break this line, I could use the BR element, and that would break the line. So that's the quotation element. It puts quotation marks around it by default. We could also have a time element. So it's not auto doing it. There we go. So if I had, what's today's date? March 30th. And I also wanted this time to be read by machines. I wanted robots to be able to read this date. I could have, what's the date time? And I could have 2021-03-30. And I believe that could be read by robots. So if Google's indexing your site and you have this time element, it might know when the page was made or when a certain date occurred. You could also have some computer code. So I could have console.log. This is some computer code. And you'll see here by default it has a monospace font, so all the characters are the same width, same height. That's the default formatting for the code element. And lastly, we could have a variable element, so a math or programming variable. So I could have A and displays it a bit differently like that. I think if we had a normal A here, they're completely different. See you in the next video.